Okay, so I've come back into AutoCAD because having done the setup that I want in Revit with the two views showing my linked AutoCAD file, now I want to go back and make some more changes in AutoCAD. So back in AutoCAD, I can see my line. I just want to show you a little thing to get the line weights a bit thicker so it's easier to see that line. And so back into layer properties, just want to show you quickly there that I've set a line weight to this layer. I've made it fairly heavy, 0.6, just so that it really stands out. But I still can't see that line weight on the screen. So an easy option to miss is the button that you have on the status bar down the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It sometimes is turned off. And so if you click on the, 3 lines at the end, that will bring up the list of all of those buttons. And you can just tick line weight. That will make sure that the line weight button is visible, and then you'll see the button here to show hide line weight. And now with the line weight showing, obviously it's much easier to see that line now. And so the little trick I was going to use to get this to be a rectangle is simply to copy this line. I've just clicked on it to select it, and then I'm going to use the copy tool and then copy it over by picking a base point virtually anywhere and then just moving the cursor over until I can see the line on the other side of the building. And then I'll click again to set the second point, enter to finish, and we've got 2 parallel lines. Offset, of course, will give you parallel lines as well, but I've just found sometimes it's easier to use copy in some cases. Well, no, because we need a line at a right angle now. So there's another trick for that one. If you, I'm going to again go to select the line on the right, and then this time I'm going to use rotate. Yep. And so then you'll see it'll ask you for a base point first. So the base point is going to be the bottom end of the line. And now you can see as I move the cursor, it's going to give me a preview of the angle. But before I give that angle, it's really important that you choose the copy option that you'll see on the status bar, on the command line, sorry, down the bottom. So I'm going to click copy, and then simply type in the angle, which will be 90. Remember, we're going anti-clockwise, so just 90. So there we are. So now we know these lines are perpendicular to each other. That's right, exactly. Yep. So that's right. So I might fill it to join these 2 lines together, making sure the radius, of course, is 0. And then I should be able to copy the bottom line by picking it up on the end, on the bottom right corner. Maybe I can snap to the other end of the line, and it should join to the corner on the top left, because, of course, the width there should be the same. So that's one way of getting a rectangle, and you'll often find you do need to make things at right angles to each other when those things themselves are at unusual angles. So those little tricks can, even though they might seem simple, they can save you a lot of effort in AutoCAD. So maybe just to go through the process, I'm going to save this file and then come back into Revit. On the Insert tab, go to Manage Links, CAD Formats, select the file. Yes, that's right. Every time you want the change, you've got to save it. Yeah. Exactly. That's right, it is. Yeah. So here, if I click this same file, reload, you'll get used to doing this because you'll do it all the time. Click OK, and now I can see the rectangle. Now, you've got a choice. When you do the next step, you could rotate it in Revit, but I think it's better to rotate it in AutoCAD. So I'm going to do it there. And so back into AutoCAD, I'm going to click in the top left corner above my image so that I can make a window around both the image and all of my lines. So I've selected everything, and then I'm going to click on the rotate tool. It's going to then ask me for a base point. The base point could be almost anywhere. It doesn't really matter what we rotate around, but maybe somewhere near the centre of your image will work well, just so that you can see what's happening. I'm going to click to give that that point, and then I'm going to use the reference option. So again, on the command line, you'll see it should have those two options, copy and reference. We want this time the reference option. Clicking on reference, then I can click on the bottom right-hand corner of the building, and then the top right-hand corner of the building. If you're wondering why, it's because that is the edge that we want to make straight. So that's my reference angle. And now I'm going to make sure ortho is turned on. Down the bottom on the status bar, you can click on the right angle symbol. F8 on the keyboard will do the same thing. Turned ortho on, now I'm locked to right angle, and you can see if I go over to the right, I can then click a point when it snaps to 0 degrees, which should then mean that this edge, which is the street frontage of onto Mary Street, should be perfectly horizontal, and then these on the side should be vertical. Okay, so that's now ready to check back in AutoCAD, in Revit. So I'm going to save the file again. Back in Revit, again, insert, manage links, CAD formats, select file, reload, okay, and we can see then that the building is, or the footprint is rotated. Going back to site satellite, of course, that's been rotated along with it. But then, how do we line that up with the floor plan that we already have? Okay, so back to my ground floor with image, we can see obviously the image that we've imported with the floor plan. So, I'm just going to check to see if you remember, how would we set out the overall dimensions for this building? Before drawing walls or anything like that, what would you use to establish your main dimensions? Yeah, oh, we've done the scaling, yeah. But then if you just want to have something to establish the two sides of the building, and probably the top and the bottom as well, just think about the way you'd work when you're drafting on a drawing board. You don't go and draw the walls usually, you'll set things out roughly using construction lines. So you should be thinking the same way with Revit, and use reference planes, like construction lines, to set those overall dimensions before you try to draw some walls. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on the reference plane tool, and I'm just going to draw along the edge of the, sorry, not the wall, we're using internal dimensions here, or are we? No, sorry, no, it will be the outside, sorry. So let's stop for a second, we're going to use the other one. So here we go, so there we are. I've got a reference plane going all the way up to the top, and you can see it lines up with that dimension there on the left. I'm going to do another one over on the right. And again, make sure it goes all the way up to the dimensions. Then you're going to see something interesting. Even if you've brought the plan in already and scaled it, you're going to find that you need to scale it again, because here, 48,400 is the size it should be. Now, I have scaled mine, but I scaled it using one of the smaller dimensions, which would be less accurate, and that means this overall dimension isn't quite right, and I just need to scale it again. I'm going to show you that too. So 48,400, I've selected the reference plane on the right, and there you can see the dimension is actually 48,374, not far off, but we want it to be accurate. So 48,400 is what it should be. That's right. So here, notice how my reference planes come out only slightly, but I'm fussy, and so I'm going to rescale the plan. So I've pressed escape, and you know, it's good just to repeat these things. You're basically just doing the same thing as you would have done last time. So I'm going to select the plan, click on the scale tool. I'm going to then click on the corner of the building, on the top left corner. And then I'm zooming as I do this to make sure it's accurate. I'm going to zoom right into the corner so I can get as close as possible to the center of the line in the top right corner. Right, and so now I just need to type in that dimension that we used previously, 48400. You can't see it because it's stuck here, but you can see I've typed that already, 48400. Enter. And you can see it's just scaled the plan up marginally so that now it does line up. Yep, sure. Okay, so it's only a little thing, but it's something you should check. And so then I just want to show you one last thing. I'm going to draw reference planes now for the bottom. So you can see I've got a reference plane that goes through the center, and again, this is just a little thing, but have you ever wondered where you should take your measurements from? It's a good thing. Everyone should have thought about this after doing a lot of drawing and measuring, because you all will be looking at lines at that level of detail and thinking, do I measure from the left-hand side of the line, the right-hand side of the line, or the center of the line? And so the reason I was saying everyone should have thought about this is because every architect I know who was trained before computers thinks about this differently to people who are trained after computers. And they all think about it. Think little, things like this that you would think would be maybe too detailed, but they do all think about these things. So with computers, always measure to the center of the line. That's the way all computer programs work. A lot of hand drawings, though, for external or things that are cut, like a wall particularly, they would actually put the line weight inside. So the edge of the line was where you should be measuring from. With older hand-drawn, beautifully drawn architectural drawings, it's actually the outside of the line you should be measuring from. Which I know logically in some ways doesn't make sense, but that's the way they did all their drawings. All architectural drawings up until about the 1980s were done that way, with the line weight inside. So here, that line, the thick line, would have been entirely inside the wall, and the edge of the line would have been the outside of the wall. But with computer drawings, it's the center of the line. And again, when you're zooming right in like this, you will start to think in that level of detail. So I've got a reference plane for the bottom, and then I'm going to just copy that. You could draw a new reference plane, but as with the lines in AutoCAD, I find it's easier sometimes just to copy things when they're going to be parallel. So I'm going to get that centered. And even though I've scaled the floor plan, that will not be the exact measurement. So just like the other one, I'm going to check what the measurement should be, 28400. And why can't I see my dimension? Am I going blind? Let's try that again. So I've just deselected, there we are. So you should get the automatic dimension coming up, measuring to the reference plane at the base, and now you can see it's actually a fair bit off, 25 mil. So 28400. And it's a little bit off, but there's no point scaling this plan again, because we've scaled it across horizontally, and we're just going to have to live with the fact that it's not perfectly proportioned, and that's often going to be the case when you scan things in. So I'm just going to... Yeah, so you need to make sure that the dimension between your reference planes is right. The image can be a little bit out. Yeah. Oh, no, you can leave it if you want to. It's not that important. If you want to be fussy like me, you can scale it again to get it. Yeah. Right. Oh, then that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. So they're the things that set the size, not the plan, not the image, but the reference planes. And if I look in my ground floor, you can see there are the reference planes. If I go to my site views, we can see the reference planes, and of course we can see the AutoCAD lines. So that rectangle should be the same as what we've drawn with the reference planes. But again, it won't be because we've traced off an image. So first step, I'm going to move this. I've just, if you missed it, I've just clicked on that line or the rectangle to select it, and over here you can see the AutoCAD file name. going to click the Move button and pick it up on the bottom left corner of that rectangle and snap it onto the intersection of my two reference planes. And so you can see there how far out the satellite is. You're never going to get much accuracy off a satellite image. That scale is only very rough. So we do need to make it as accurate as possible though, just to make the drawing easier. So now I can go back into AutoCAD and use those same measurements. So again, you can see here it was 48400 and 28400 from memory. So maybe I'll just test your AutoCAD. What do you think would be an easy way to get those measurements on these, or for the rectangle here? Because you don't get the automatic dimensions coming up like you would with Revit, it's probably easier just to delete these two lines and this time use offset. Okay, so offset is a really useful tool for making parallel lines, of course. So 48400, enter, select the bottom line, click above. Did I miss a zero?
No,
oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, I'm going the wrong way, of course. Yep, thanks. Yep, so offset again. Yep, I don't know what I'm doing. 48400. Sorry. Yep, the left, and then clicking to the right, and then offset again. 28400, and then this time the line at the bottom and above. And so you can see how far off the satellite really is. So I'm going to fillet those to make a rectangle. Now I'm clicking on the button each time just so that you can see what I'm doing, but if you press enter in between each fillet command, that will repeat it and save you clicking on the button every time. Okay, so it's a fair bit smaller than the look, or the way it looks in the image. And also, remember that's a perspective, so we've got to maybe adjust that position as well. So I'm going to maybe select all the lines and then use move, and maybe move it to a location that's better. What's going on there? Sorry. No, I'll turn ortho off. So I'm going to just place it maybe to line up with the bottom. Might work better. Again, it's never going to be perfect. And then you could scale this down a little bit. Like I said, that scale is just a rough guide, and because it's perspective, of course, things in perspective do get smaller as they get further away from the camera, or from the satellite in this case, and so it's never going to be perfectly to scale. And so you've got the option there of just living with this and adjusting your drawing accordingly, or scaling it down slightly. So I am going to scale it down slightly. And to work out the scale factor, I'm simply going to measure from the corner here over to the left, and we can see, oops, the distance there, 5752. And then measuring my rectangle again, oh, I know that, 48400. So, again, just applying the same principles you used to scale the image originally. We need to know those two numbers, the main one being, what is it, 50752. So I can just scale, select my image, enter. I'm going to use the corner on the top right as my base point. And then this time, 48400 over, I haven't forgotten the other number, 50752. Let's just say 50750. So 48400 over 50750. Oops, 750. That's right. And so if you're having trouble remembering which number goes first, just think about whether you're trying to make the thing bigger or smaller. So here we know we're trying to make it smaller, so the smaller number should go first. If you're trying to increase the size of your image, the the bigger number will go on top, and the smaller one will go on the bottom. Okay, so there we are. So I've just scaled it down slightly. You can see that fits better with the rectangle. And again, save, back into Revit now. And I will go to my line work view before reloading it, just so I can see the change. Insert tab, manage links. CAD formats, reload. Okay. Now the rectangle's the same size as my reference planes, and I can simply select that, move it one last time, and line it up. And it should line up exactly. Okay, so I've done all that hard work to get everything set up with the right dimensions. So now I'm going to make sure that that doesn't move. I'm going to select using tab to get my AutoCAD file and click the pin icon to lock that in position. I'm going to do the same thing to the image file that I've imported for the ground floor. Just select it, make sure it's pinned, so those two things won't move and they'll stay aligned.